In this episode, we're going to be building the foundation for Shoreline's AWS environment. This includes the VPC, the load balancer, the web and app servers, and the database. Now the full step-by-step guide is going to be in my GitHub. I'll make sure to include that in the description below. So follow along with me in this lab as we build this out step by step. So before we dive into it, I want to give a quick visual on what we're going to be building. So we're going to start by creating the VPC in step 1. That's our isolated network in AWS. You'll see the public subnet colored in red and the private subnet colored in green. Now the public subnet has our application load balancer, which is the only entry point from the internet. Everything else is going to be locked down behind it. Directly below that is our private subnets. This includes the web server, the app server, and the database. Now the web server lives in AZ1. It has no public IP, and all traffic comes through the load balancer. The app server is also in private subnet, but it's in AZ2. This is a different availability zone. Remember, the app server handles all the business logic and talks directly to the database. Now the database is at the bottom. Only the app server can reach it, nothing else. Something you'll also notice is each layer has its own security group. That's the SG listed in each box. Think of security groups like traffic rules that only control what systems are allowed to talk to each other. For example, the load balancer only accepts traffic from the internet, and the web server only accepts traffic from the load balancer. And then the app server only accepts traffic from the web server, and the database is only accepting SQL traffic from the app server. So even though everything lives in the same VPC, we're still segmenting how traffic moves between systems. Think of it like having locked doors between rooms. Just because you're in the same building doesn't mean you can automatically access everything. So let's jump into step 1 of the lab and build out the infrastructure. So step 1, navigate to VPC, and then click Create VPC. Choose VPC and more, and then for the name, you can grab it out of the step-by-step guide, which is going to be Shoreline Solutions, and you can leave the IPv4 CIDR block as is, and then scroll down, and then for the number of public subnets and private subnets, leave both of those as 2. And for the VPC endpoints, make sure to choose none, and then create VPC. Now behind the scenes, AWS is creating our VPC, enabling DNS, and building out 4 subnets across 2 availability zones. It's also creating an internet gateway for public access and configuring the route tables that determine which subnets are public and which subnets are private. Now that the network's in place, we can start defining how traffic moves through the environment, and that will be done with security groups. You can navigate over to security groups, and for steps 2 through 5, we're going to be creating 4 security groups. So go ahead and click on Create Security Group, and for our first security group, it's going to be the Application Load Balancer. Remember, the load balancer acts as the front door to our environment, and it's responsible for receiving traffic from users on the internet. So for this security group, we only need a single inbound rule, and this is the only component for our network that's internet facing. So we're going to be allowing HTTP traffic on port 80 from o.o.o/o. And the source is just telling AWS where traffic is allowed to come from. In this case, o.o.o.o/o means any user on the internet can reach the load balancer, and the load balancer will then forward that traffic to our private web server. Now our second security group will be for the web server. Unlike the load balancer, the web server does not accept traffic directly from the internet. Instead, it only accepts traffic from the load balancer. So we need to create a single inbound rule allowing HTTP traffic on port 80 from the load balancer security group. Now notice that I'm selecting the load balancer security group as the source instead of using an IP range. This creates a trusted connection between the load balancer and the web server, and it ensures that only traffic forwarded by the load balancer can reach the server. Now, the third security group is our application server. Just like the web server, it does not accept traffic directly from the internet, so we'll create a single inbound rule allowing HTTP traffic on port 80, but this time we'll use the web server security group as the source. So at this point, we've created a chain of trust. Internet traffic reaches the load balancer forwards traffic to the web server, and the web server communicates with the application server. Now our final security group is for the database. This is the most restricted layer in our environment because the database contains the data we're ultimately trying to protect. So the database does not accept traffic directly from the internet or the load balancer or even the web server. It only accepts MySQL traffic on port 3306 from the application server. Now notice that we're once again using a security group as the source instead of an IP range. This creates a trusted connection between the application server and the database, and it ensures that only approved application traffic can access the data. Once that's complete, we can move on to step 6, where we need to create a NAT gateway. Our web and application servers live in private subnets and don't have a direct route to the internet. Even though they're private, they still need outbound access for things like operating system updates, software downloads, and even package installers. So the NAT gateway provides outbound connectivity while keeping the servers private. It allows the servers to reach out to the internet when needed, but it does not allow users on the internet to directly connect back to them. Once the NAT gateway is created, we now need to update the route table for our private subnets so they know where to send internet-bound traffic. Go ahead and click on Route Tables, and then we want to choose our first private subnet, and then Edit Routes. So the destination that I'm adding here is o.o.o/o, and that represents anywhere outside of our VPC. Instead of sending that traffic directly to the internet, we're going to be directing it to the NAT gateway. Now we want to do the same thing for the second private subnet. And just to note, this does not make the subnet public, so resources in this subnet still cannot accept direct connections from the internet. And you can save those changes, and now we added the route tables to both private subnets. Moving on to step 7, we're going to be creating the web server. So navigate to EC2, and I'll be using Amazon Linux 2023 and T2 Micro instance to keep costs low for the lab. We'll be creating a key pair for this instance, and a key pair just provides a secure way to remotely connect to the server if needed, so make sure to download it and store it somewhere safe. And for the key pair name, I'll be using Shoreline Key, and then you can leave the key pair type as the default, which is RSA. And change the VPC to Shoreline Solutions VPC. For the subnet, this should live in AZ1, which is our private subnet. For the firewall or security group, you can hit select existing security group. Make sure to choose the web security group we created earlier. Now scroll down to user data, and you want to copy and paste the script that's in the guide. The user data is simply a list of instructions that AWS automatically runs when the server starts. So in our case, it's going to install Apache and create a basic web page so the server is ready to go as soon as it launches. Now up at the top, we want to just add our tags and then launch instance. Next is step 8. We need to create a target group. So at this point, our web server is running, and now we need to create a target group which will allow our load balancer to know where it should send incoming traffic. And in our case, we're registering our web server as the target. So when users connect to the load balancer, it will then forward their request to this web server on port 80. For target group name, you can grab the name from the step-by-step guide. And VPC, make sure you change it to Shoreline Solutions. Then you can scroll down, leave everything as default, and hit next. Now make sure to choose the instance here for the web server and include it in the pending below, and that will include it as the target. And you can go ahead and click next. And then create target group. Now we need to create the load balancer. So remember, the target group contains our web server, so when a user visits the application, the traffic flow will be internet, load balancer, web server. So choose application load balancer. I can grab the name from the step-by-step guide, and this load balancer should be internet facing. VPC, make sure to choose Shoreline Solutions. Availability zones, you want to check both boxes, and these are going to be living in the public subnets. Security group, you can delete the default security group that's there, and you can add our load balancer security group we recently created. So for listeners and routing, you want to choose forward to target groups and choose the target group we just created. And scroll down, you can leave everything else as default and create load balancer. Now, once that's created, we can go ahead and add our tags. So if you've noticed, I've been consistently using tags like environment, tier throughout this build. Even though this is a lab, I want to follow the same asset management and governance practices you're going to see in a real environment. So now for the moment of truth. Our load balancer is active, so let's grab the DNS name and paste it into a browser and let it rip. If everything is configured correctly, we should see the Shoreline Solutions client portal page that was automatically created when the web server launched. And there it is. Our web tier is officially online. We've successfully verified that traffic can flow from the internet to the load balancer to the web server. Now let's move on to step 11. We're going to launch the application server, and this server sits behind the web server and handles all the business logic for our applications. So we're going to be using another Amazon Linux 2023 instance, and for the instance type, we want to do T2 micro. Next, we want to generate another key pair. And remember to store this in a safe area in case you need to remotely access the server. Now below this, we want to edit the network settings. Make sure to change the VPC to Shoreline Solutions. And then we want to put this in the private subnet, which is going to be in AZ2. For the firewall, select the security group, and we want to use the app security group we created. And then we can scroll back up and then add the tags. From here, we need to create the database subnet group. But before we can deploy our database, AWS needs to know which subnets it's allowed to use. And the database subnet group simply is a collection of subnets that RDS can place database resources into. You can copy and paste the name from the step-by-step guide. And for the VPC, make sure to choose Shoreline Solutions VPC. Now for this lab, we're going to be selecting both private subnets across 2 availability zones. This keeps the database off the public internet. Once you have that filled out, you could hit create. So step 13 is going to be the final step. This is to create the database. So from here, click on database, and then create database and full configuration we want. So for the engine, we want MySQL. And for the template, you want to use the dev test one. And for this lab, we're going to be using a single availability zone to keep costs down while still learning how the service works. Now, when you scroll down, you can add in the database instance identifier. I'm going to leave the username as admin. And then for the credentials, we want to do self-managed and go ahead and create a password. So make sure to remember it because we may use these credentials later as we continue building and securing the environment. We want to choose the bottom option, and the instance type, we need T3 micro. The storage, make sure to change it to 20. And under connectivity, change the VPC to Shoreline Solutions VPC. Make sure database subnet group is the one we just created. For security group, you can go ahead and delete the default one and change it to the database security group we created. In availability, we want 1A. And finally, we need to add our tags. So I'll be using environment production and tier DB for database. So at the bottom, I want to call it the price. AWS estimates this database will cost around $14 per month. So we're going to be using it for future videos for vulnerability scanning, security testing, and other GRC exercises. So to save money, a good practice is to delete the resources when you're not using them and then rebuild them as needed. Let's quickly recap what we built. We created a VPC with public and private subnets across 2 availability zones. We have a load balancer, a web server, an application server, and a database, all working as expected. What I really want you to take away from this lab is the ability to communicate what we built. As a cybersecurity professional, we're consistently asked to explain data flows, risk to auditors and leadership teams, as well as business stakeholders. So you don't need to be a cloud engineer, but you do need to understand how systems are built and how traffic moves between components and where security controls should exist. So if you can clearly explain the environment, you're already in a much better position to secure it. In the next lab, we'll be adding the security layer with services like CloudTrail, GuardDuty, Security Hub, and AWS Config. That's where we'll be turning the infrastructure into a monitored and secure environment. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you guys in the next one.